From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson, and look who finally decided to make his way back into the studio after forever.
It's the hardest, baddest, still sexiest man on cable access TV with charisma and style and always beauty. But let me tell you something. It's all the ladies that come after me and pay for me. That's why I can't come sometimes. Well, I can come, but I can't come. Well, you know the deal. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I don't know for how long because there's a lot of things that I'm doing. And I apologize for that because I know you want to see me live. But ladies and gentlemen, you know what the biggest thing going is right now, Jaime?
Too many things to even discuss.
I'll tell you one. WWE's Hell in a Cell. The Bray Wyatt Seth Rollins incident, a DQ match in Hell in a Cell. That's all that's being plastered. There was chanting NXT, booing, people wanting their money back. All the people on social media are going crazy about that they're going to kill the character, that he should have won. And there's so many bizarre things. And that has been the most explosive things. Instead of being the New York Yankees, the Jets, the Giants, the Islanders, you have all them New York teams. And what's the thing that they concentrate? The WWE blowing the Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins situation. And
this is why people wrestling fans specifically, either watch the other promotions or don't watch wrestling anymore because they just self-destruct with these storylines.
And NAW is out there, MLW is out there, NXT is still good.
All Elite Wrestling you're talking about, right?
All Elite Wrestling 2 is out there.
You know what else is out there now?
AAA is out there.
You know what else is out there? The NWA.
Yeah, NWA.
And the NWA is really,
they have their own TV show
pushing
now.
A lot of their young stars.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing it right. Jim Cornette is helping them.
He's broadcasting for them.
And he's also doing MLW.
They're doing their old TV tapings in Atlanta, like they used to do with TBS back in the day.
Exactly.
Which is a tremendous thing that they're doing for their fan base.
You know, it's a funny thing how people get so into wrestling. We have a lot of wrestling, but I think that the WWE is dropping the ball. But here's the thing, too.
That's also why some of their stars are defecting to other promotions.
Kofi Kingston dropping the belt in 9 seconds, and look who comes in.
Cain
Velasquez, who fought with the AAA.
Now, I'm curious to know, is WWE bringing him in just to be a sideshow, or are they going to give this kid a contract?
I think they're going to give him a contract because they want to make it into a real style wrestling, more sports orientated than entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
there is a bright side to this, though.
Yes.
And that's the fact that WWE had their first broadcast of SmackDown on Fox this past Friday.
Yes.
It went well. And speaking of wrestling, you mentioned All Elite earlier. Right. All Elite had their very first cable TV broadcast on TNT this past Wednesday.
And they beat NXT in the ratings, but you know how it is when you see a shiny pencil or you see something shiny, you want to see how it reacts.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how it goes long term, because I tell you the truth, it could beat Raw and SmackDown the way they're going. NXT, that's a tough one because NXT has a lot of former Bullet Club members. New Japan Pro Wrestling is another one that's out there. I don't think they broadcast new stuff anymore because everybody's doing their own app thing.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it's unbelievable what's happening in wrestling. And that character, they're blowing it quickly, unless they're doing something quick. And Cain Velasquez is fighting for Rey Mysterio because Brock Lesnar beat up his son and Mysterio too, and they're
See,
trying to
that's really crossing a line.
And he's studying
right
to be a
there.
wrestler anyway. His son
Yeah.
Dominic is studying.
I'll tell you this. At least Dominic played the part of the victim
Very
well.
Yes, and as much as you hate Lesnar, I think a champion honestly should not be there every taping, and there should be some surprises when they fight in arenas that belts should change instead of on pay-per-view and so on like the old days, and certain things should change. And I believe what Jim Cornette says a lot, and I believe what some of the older promoters say and do, and I believe in some of what the young guys are doing too. But it all depends how you stir the cup. But all in all, I tell you, it's a piece of work out there. I mean, and all I know is that a lot of UFC fighters will become WWE. I mean, wrestlers. I shouldn't say WWE. I should say wrestlers. They're going to go into wrestling eventually because, that's the second best thing you got. Because
Some of these guys are pretty decent athletes, though.
yeah, and also, not for nothing, too, but what is so sad about the Olympics, they got rid of wrestling.
Greco-Roman style wrestling.
That is the most ridiculous thing. That has been since the Greeks' time, and they got rid of it.
That was how the Olympics were built, was through Greco-Roman style wrestling and
freestyle too.
Freestyle wrestling.
Freestyle wrestling and so on. But it's unbelievable what things have done. I mean,
which means we're not going to see a dominant star like Alexander Karelin anymore from Russia, and we're also not going to see
a Kurt Angle.
Somebody like a Kurt Angle,
We're not going to see
who made his way through the Greco-Roman style of wrestling and is now practically an icon, first for WWE and now
Impact.
for Total Nonstop Action, and then back for WWE.
Impact Wrestling now they're called too. They're not doing too bad either. You just can't find them. But all in all, there's a lot of wrestling out there, and you just got to find them in apps and so on. But
See, this is a good thing that we're having more promotions.
As long as they do the right thing.
As long as they do the right thing, if they play their roles correctly, they're going to have a really long shelf life. And it's good to see companies like All Elite and the NWA and
MLW
and Major League Wrestling, which has really, really good athletes as well, and even Impact.
Impact, yeah.
Try and put a challenge to WWE.
Yeah, well, things go. But speaking of hirings and firings, like Shane McMahon got fired in his wrestling match with Kevin Owens. Have we had any coaches fired?
Oh yeah, they've been fired.
In football lately. Tell me who they are, sir.
Right
And
after
why?
the Redskins had their heads handed to them by the Patriots, Jay Gruden got fired.
Should he have been fired?
Yeah.
Why?
Because for one, he had a good 4.5 to 5.5 years to try and turn that franchise around. And the offensive system that he had there just was not working. Not only that, but I really don't know what he was trying to do with his quarterback situation.
What was his quarterback situation?
Well, he started out with Kirk Cousins.
Right.
And Kirk, although not great, was still
better than what they
managing the offense a lot better than what they were giving him credit for. Then he decides to leave and go to Minneapolis. So now they bring in Dwayne Haskins as their number 1 draft pick. They also sign Colt McCoy out of obscurity, a guy who's bounced around from one team to another.
Did they sign a veteran, the black quarterback, CP3? Or I forgot his name.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they also brought in...
oh, damn, I forgot his name. I know he came back.
Josh Freeman.
Right.
They brought in Josh Freeman for a cup of coffee, and he failed miserably.
So you got one guy get left.
Yeah.
Who else?
let's see. After Jay Gruden, there are some guys that could be on the chopping block.
Who?
You mentioned before Dan Quinn. I think it's a little unfair to axe a guy who has taken that team to a Super Bowl and was 20 minutes away from winning their first championship. The problem is the defense stinks. And quite frankly, I put this on the general manager because he did not do enough to try and get some studs on that line or in the secondary or in the back seven to make things better for them.
Now,
Dan Quinn needs to keep his job.
Now, the other question is who else's job is on the line that you see? Is it Miami? Do you see the Miami coach?
Oh yeah, Brian Flores' job is definitely on the line after 5 games. The Dolphins have not been close in any one of their 5 games this season.
But maybe they're tanking because they need. Remember, those fresh quarterbacks are coming out next year.
Yet they made the deal to get Josh Rosen, who's on his second team in as many years since coming out of UCLA.
And what is his problem? Is it the coach's problem that they're not winning? Is it the defense, or is it all everybody?
It's everything. They have no skill position players on either side, offense or defense. They don't have a running back. They don't have a number 1 wide receiver. No offensive line.
Right.
0 defense whatsoever.
Right.
Whether they're tanking, I hate to believe that they're intentionally tanking.
No.
Because if so, then the league needs to step in and tell these guys, don't do it anymore.
Yeah, but you can't tell if they're tanking because they're playing their hearts out. But here's the other one I got. So, what team so far has been the biggest disappointment?
Well, Atlanta, for one, has been a major disappointment this season. Another disappointment that you can look at, although the injuries have not really helped them, is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has really shown that they are nothing without Big Ben. They're also nothing without Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown. At least they have Juju Smith-Schuster to be a version of a number 1 wide receiver. And there's also James Conner, who they could hand the ball off to.
Now, what team has impressed you?
What team has impressed me? I think they've probably more stunned me than impressed me in a way.
Because I'm sure there's 1 or 2 teams out there that you didn't believe. Because the Cleveland Browns, you would think that they would do something. And they're doing...
Cleveland has impressed me a little bit because some have called upon them to be a real contender this year.
They should be with that team.
I thought for sure that they were going to be a 500 club this year. I didn't really expect that much out of them. So they really, really, really have impressed me. One other team that's disappointed me, though.
What team?
The Dallas Cowboys. They've lost 2 in a row, and the defense has looked really vulnerable.
Now, is that the coach's fault or the player's fault?
That falls on the coaches because you have to have a system in place where you have to know where you either want to contain the run or put in an all-out blitz, especially considering who the matchup was. And looking at yesterday, they were going up against the Packers, who have Aaron Rodgers, a 100% healthy Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
He shredded them for 3.5 quarters yesterday until the Cowboys made a bit of a comeback. But that was just practically catch-up garbage time points.
Right.
But as far as the Cowboys go...
So Dallas has been a big disappointment for you
Dallas
as well?
has been a disappointment. I expected them to be a Super Bowl contender this year.
And
they've lost the last 2 games already.
Now, should they sign Prescott?
Should they re-sign Dak Prescott? Yeah,
Yes,
they should.
they
And I think they should also re-sign Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay, now, I think they did, didn't they? Didn't they sign? They signed one of them that he didn't. He wasn't going to play for them anymore until he got an extension.
I'm not sure if he got a new deal, but it's critical that they give both of those guys new deals.
You got disappointments now. Right now, who's in first place? And
New England leads the East, in the AFC, that is.
Right.
Cleveland is actually gonna. Right now, Baltimore
Right.
has taken over the lead in the north of the AFC.
Okay.
Down south, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is either the Houston Texans or the Indianapolis Colts. That's one team that has really surprised me, is Indianapolis. After Andrew Luck retired early, everybody thought that his
team would just explode.
His team was just going to completely
Right.
self-destruct. But Jacoby Brissett, who has been the guy to take over, he's played pretty well so far.
Well,
He's shown athleticism. He's looked confident running the offense. He's managed things like he's supposed to. The Colts have really surprised a lot of people this year.
But here's the thing. This is what I was talking to you about last week, about having a good backup quarterback. Because if you don't have a good backup quarterback, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
You really are screwed. That's what I'm saying, that maybe the Jets next year, maybe if there's nothing out there for them to get, maybe they should pick one of those quarterbacks.
And for the record, the Texans and the Colts are tied for the South lead.
Wow. So they're 500 teams. So how many 500 teams are there? There's about in each.
Let's see. We have one, and then
because like I said, my biggest.
We have one team that's right at 500 now. Everybody else is either 3-2 or 2-3 or 1-4. The only winless team in the league right now, actually, there's a couple winless teams. The Redskins,
right,
and the Bengals, and the Dolphins, and the Jets.
Now, did you expect any of those teams to be in last place or to have a losing record like that?
The Dolphins, I knew all along that they were going to be a last place club. They just have zero talent, legit talent, that they could rely on to try and win any games this year.
So you're saying that they got the quarterback, but they just
the
don't
quarterback
have
is there, but he's been very, very suspect this season.
They don't have defense. They don't have wide receivers for him.
No wide receivers, no defense. Not one single running back that they could give the ball to try and take the load off of Rosen once in a while.
Speaking of playing no defense, the way the Giants play defense, giving up 500 yards. Good God Almighty!
Wow.
And what's his name? The quarterback that they have now.
Well,
it was. I mean, you got to put the blame on him too.
The blame can be spread in quite a few ways.
Like butter.
Number one, the defense had zero resistance against Kirk Cousins yesterday.
Yep.
And once again, Kirk Cousins showed that he can feast on teams that are 500 or below, yet he can't win a single game against a team that's over 500.
So it's a feast or famine type of deal.
More like fool's gold. Kirk Cousins has become complete fool's gold in this game. You know what his record is when it comes to playing teams 500 or under?
What is it?
32-12. You know what his record is when he plays a team that's a contender over 500?
What?
5 wins and 27 losses. Kirk Cousins is an under 500 quarterback. He's a talented quarterback,
right?
But
is it the team or is it just the fact that it's
his
him?
team? You mean?
Is it him that's making the team play bad, or is it?
Part of it is him.
It's him.
Part of it is him.
But it's not the team or the managers.
And he's got really good guys to work with.
Okay.
Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
Kyle Rudolph. Stefan Diggs.
Right.
He's got some really, really talented receivers and a good young running back that he can get the ball to. And the defense for the Vikings has been, I don't want to say hit or miss, but there have been days when the Vikings have really disappointed this season.
Now, let me ask you this. With the Giants playing so badly, is this a growing pain for the quarterback?
Oh, yeah, this is definitely growing
Right?
pains.
This is growing pains. This is your starting quarterback. Now,
And he should be to blame as well. I mean, not only did he overthrow a wide open receiver in the
Right.
end zone,
Right.
which should have been a touchdown,
should have been, yes.
he also committed this really, really silly
He
turnover.
got picked. Yeah, he got picked. He got sacked.
I mean, granted, the game was already decided, but he's got to
Yeah.
try and read defenses a little bit better than that.
because this is why I'm saying I think Eli, because of his experience, could have done a little better. But at some point, let's say they go on a losing streak, do you bring back Eli or do you just let him go? You know what? Let him get his growing pains. What do you think?
My guess is they're going to let him just get his growing pains in. And speaking of which, they're playing the Patriots on Thursday night.
Oh,
And
man.
it's only going to get progressively worse after this.
How so? Who they playing at? What's their
After the Patriots?
Yes.
The Giants have a rather difficult schedule.
And look at the
that
Jets,
they're going to be
too.
going up against.
And look at the Jets too, because
Yeah.
I know they're playing Dallas. So, and what's his name? Still got mono.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing I've been talking about. You should have, with Kurt Kaepernick still being out there. Can somebody hire this man, please? Can see someone say,
Colin Kaepernick, you know what you're talking about, huh?
yeah, call Kaepernick. Can somebody please give him a job? I mean, look at all the quarterbacks that are out there that are half drumming it,
Well-
like Kirk Cousins and all them.
It's not like they don't have their chances for wins coming up. I mean, there are some winnable games. The Cardinals, the Lions, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Redskins. So maybe, just maybe, they can pick up another 5 wins this season. But then there's the Patriots,
Right.
the Cowboys, the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, the Eagles twice.
Right. So,
Quite frankly, I think the Giants will be lucky if they win 7 games this year.
Do you think that a quarterback or a coach, when you're now, would you say that the Giants are on a rebuilding stage, or would you say that they're in the middle, or at
They're
the
definitely in a rebuilding stage because they have a bunch of young players, specifically defensively, that they're using. Jabril Peppers being one, and also
'cause that damn defense was like Swiss cheese, man. They
Yeah.
just ran through.
and they also have a defensive back who they drafted out of Georgia this past spring, who's played pretty well so far.
The offensive line was not that good either.
No.
And neither was the Jets.
And again,
Jesus, the Jets.
will someone please get Nate Solder out of that line because he is killing them? Nate Solder was given a 4-year contract, and he has done nothing except let guys go by to try and mangle his quarterback.
Now, with the Jets. Now, what I wanted to ask you was, how long do you give a team to rebuild to the point where you say enough's enough? We gotta to get rid of the coach or the quarterback.
I give it 2 or 3 years max.
You give it 2 to 3 years.
2 or 3 years max, because there's going to come a point where they're going to need to be expected to try and put together a contender. I mean, building through the draft is one thing, but you can also try and get some of these fringe free agents who could probably make a contribution every now and then.
Now, it's tough with football because they have they want to keep everybody level, and they got the luxury tax and all that up. That's baseball, but they have a minimum amount of money that they can spend before they get penalized. But you know, it's not like before where there are no dominant teams anymore except for the Patriots that you would say, such as the Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
the Minnesota Vikings, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Packers. They were dominant team, always. You knew that one of them was going to make it. There is no team out there that's built like that anymore.
Nope.
Do you miss something like that? Do you miss teams like that where, you know, they were so damn dominant
Yeah,
that you
I
knew
really do.
that sometimes you miss it, and you feel bad for the teams that don't make it because they don't want to play. Just like nobody really at the time wants to play for the New York Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
But and I shouldn't say that, but let's say no All-Star wants to come to the New York Knicks.
No superstar wants to come to the Knicks.
They'll go to the
LeBron has
Yankees.
rejected them 3 times. Kevin Durant has rejected them twice.
Yep.
There was all this talk about Kyrie Irving making his way to the Knicks. Did anybody really believe that he was going to leave Boston to make his way to Madison Square Garden? No. He wanted to be a Brooklyn Net. You know why? Because for one, he was going to have a chance to play with his good buddy Kyrie, and for another, he's been a lifelong Nets fan since he was a kid.
You mean he was going to play with Kevin Durant, not Kyrie?
Kyrie was going to play with Kevin Durant.
Yes. Do you think he makes a comeback this year? Or should he
if he's smart, and I know for a fact that he's a really smart guy, he sits out the season. Yeah. Although the competitive streak in him really wants to come back at the end of the year, but he should just sit this one out.
But with the Jets, now you got the Jets.
Let me put it this way about the Jets. Their
offensive line, Jesus,
their offensive line stinks too.
They couldn't stop nobody.
And Luke Falk, I know he had a nice career at Washington State, but right now, he is not NFL quarterback material. Not even close.
But is it his fault, or is it the offensive line? Is it the coach? What is it? Or
it's everything. He doesn't have a number 1 receiver to work with.
Le'Veon Bell.
I said number 1 receiver, not running back.
But he could still.
Le'Veon Bell is touching the ball 80% of the time that the Jets run a play. He's practically their entire offense for them.
And so was Eric Dickerson.
At least Eric Dickerson played on some decent teams.
Eric Dickerson
but Le'Veon
with
Bell,
the Rams, and that's the only
I know he wanted to be the guy, but did he really envision this as his way of being the man on a particular team?
Well, when you got your quarterback having mono, and he may come back next week if he clears, and I think they're playing Dallas. I think next week.
Let me find this out for you.
But if they do, and he does come back, that's another team that was expected to do well because of the players that they had and the quarterback. Now, again, I always say.
And yes, the Jets do have the Cowboys next Sunday.
Who wins?
The Cowboys.
By how much?
I think the Cowboys win by 21 points.
Really?
Yeah. The Jets have
with
0.
With Falk in there, or with Donaldson?
With Sam Darnold, you mean?
Sam Darnold.
I think they fall by 21 points with either guy.
Really?
Yeah. Luke Falk is out of his, for lack of a better word, out of his league.
But
playing with the big boys in the NFL. Sam Darnold, I know that the kid has potential, but he needs to have a number 1 and number 2 wide receiver to go along with Le'Veon Bell coming out of the backfield. And he also needs a tight end to try and throw the ball to. And he has neither. And he also needs an offensive line, a strong, competent offensive line that can protect their quarterback. And he has none of those.
But here's the thing. The Jets, before the season started, we were talking, and everybody was talking, WFAN, ESPN, all the podcast people, so they were talking about how the Jets were going to do it this year, or the Jets were going to be a good contending team this year because they had all the pieces, and
then we saw the schedule.
Donald was going to come back, but he got mono. I mean,
don't kid yourselves. Mononucleosis is a very debilitating disease.
Yes, it is. It weakens you and so on, and you can spread it, and it's contagious. But my point is, as I said before, they should get, if they can get a really good quarterback out of next year, I know the front line is, you have to take care of your front line first. let me ask you. Next year, do you go after a wide receiver, somebody that can play the offensive line? What do you get out of next year?
An offensive lineman.
An offensive
They
lineman.
need an offensive
Okay.
lineman in the worst way.
Okay. And Giants?
The Giants, they need a lot of help.
Do they? Who do
They already
get?
got the quarterback that they wanted. And, of course, there's still the matter of Saquon Barkley, who has another couple of weeks, a week or two left before he can be 100% healthy.
Yeah, but he's he's accountable. At least he's accountable. He if he's there, he's going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But if they go into the draft,
Defense.
Defense.
Defense. The Giants need defenders. And quite frankly, I was a little disappointed that they decided to go away from the defense in the first 10 picks. I mean, in hindsight, Daniel Jones became a really solid pick because he's played okay for them. But Dexter Lawrence has played well. The kid from Georgia's played well at times. They have to build around these kids. Get good, solid, stud defenders. I say they should get a pass rusher. They have to get a pass rusher in the worst way. Maybe in the second round, get a run stopper. Maybe in the middle rounds, get themselves a linebacker. And then get some guys in the secondary. If I'm the Giants, I would say I would spend maybe 60 to 70% of their picks on defense.
That's something, because a lot of times you play for the best. Sometimes you don't have that player out there. You pick the person that's the best athletic person that's out there.
I mean, look at how the Giants won their 4 Super Bowls. The first 2 under Parcells. They had guys like LT and Carl Banks and Pepper Johnson and Gary Reasons and Mark Collins and Kenny Hill and Terry Kennard.
Yeah.
And then their last 2 Super Bowls, they won with guys like Justin Tuck and Michael Strahan. Mm-hmm. And then they made really good, solid free agent pickups like Sam Madison and R.W. McQuarters.
Right.
Guys like those, they were a humongous help in their last 2 Super Bowls.
So what is it? What is it about? Is it coaches that dream this stuff up, that they think that they're going to get the players? Is it the Combine that's supposed to work?
You mean the Combine?
The Combine.
The scouting Combine.
Does that work?
Sometimes the scouting Combine does work, because you can tell a lot about an athlete by the way they either bust it on the 40-yard dash, or show off their vertical leap. Those things, they can never be taught.
Right.
But then there's the fundamental stuff, like how to place yourself against an opposing offensive lineman, or how to try and brush by an offensive lineman, or how to read a quarterback's eyes if you're dropping back into coverage.
Now, here's something to think about.
And we got
an update.
a text message from our mutual friend,
Lynn?
John Contaduca.
Oh, hey. Go!
Exactly,
go! John.
We should mention the Giants have also lost some defenders to injury as well. One of them being a really promising linebacker who now is out for the rest of the season because he tore his ACL.
That's the thing with football, I mean, rugby is a tough sport, but, and that's a tough one. But speaking of promising, the Islanders, promising team.
Yeah.
Already not showing.
They've split their first couple of games. I mean, you really can't read too much into it.
But they're a young team, though.
Yeah, they got a really young team. Unfortunately, they have a little bit of a problem with one of their guys because one of their stars,
Who's that?
It's John again.
What did he say?
He said, "Great show."
Yeah, thank you, because I'm here.
That is strictly coincidence, guys. Anyway, the Islanders have had a little bit of a problem with disgruntled players, specifically Josh Hosang,
Right.
who has not gotten that much playing time either in the first couple of games or in preseason for that matter.
Right.
He already wants a trade
Because he's not playing.
just because he's not playing.
And what's his position?
Josh Hosang, I can tell you that right
Isn't he a
now.
Goldie?
No, Josh Hosang, I think plays.
Or the line?
I think one of the wings.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
find that out for you right now.
Did you see the other article I sent you about Messi and
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo, the best scores? Isn't that something? Isn't that a trip? Oh
Yeah.
man, let me ask you something. The Devils, that's another team.
Oh, the Devils are in trouble.
The Devils were up there too. They were souping them up like the Jets and everybody else that they were going to do. I mean, it's the beginning of the season, but what's happening?
What's happened for the Devils, first of all, number one, they have not gotten as much production as they had hoped for from a couple of their young players. Number two, they have been shredded defensively and in goal.
Go! See going. Go!
And Josh Hosang is a forward.
Oh, forward. Okay. And the mighty Rangers.
There's actually hope for the Rangers, believe it or not.
So they're all in the rebuilding stages.
Not only are they in the rebuilding stages, they're rebuilding on the fly. Because not only are they doing this with the draft, they're also bringing in guys from the free agent market. And if you want to point as to why the Rangers have won their first two games, it's because Mika Zibanejad has scored 8 points, including 4 goals. He was huge in their last game against Buffalo, wound up getting himself a hat trick. And then before that, the season opener against Winnipeg, he had a couple of huge, important points that catapulted the Rangers. Yeah. And of course, there's their new free agent acquisition, Artemi Panarin, who wound up getting a couple of points via goals. And also Jacob Trouba, who has 3 assists. He's been a really good setup guy for his teammates. And also some of the young guys that they have, specifically Capocacco,
Right.
he's done very little to read on the stat sheet, but he's played some very, very important minutes. He's made some hits. He's been really good defensively. And something tells me that kid is going to be a real find for them.
Now, let me ask you, do you think that even though they're not doing so well right now, do you think that they're in contention to make the playoffs? Or to at least
in my
have a good
eyes, yes,
record
they are in contention.
because of the GM that they have.
Yeah.
And so on.
Not only that, but the Islanders have really put together a really solid team. Anthony Beauvillier, Darren Taves, Josh Bailey. And all they need right now is a little steadiness between the pipes. If they can get steadiness between the pipes, they can really go a long way.
And the Devils?
The Devils, the talent is there. The promising young kids that they have are really there, but they just have to really put it together. And right now, they blew their season opener, which was a major disappointment, and then they got their heads handed to them just the other day. So hopefully they'll be able to get themselves back on track.
How about the rest of the league? How they doing otherwise?
Well, it's only been about 2 or 3 games for each team right now, but we see that Carolina's won their first 3 games, Boston's won their first 2, Colorado's won their first 2, and Colorado is a team that's been doing a lot of rebuilding as well. Vegas has won their first 2 as well, so has Anaheim, so has Edmonton. The Western Conference so far has looked very, very competitive the first couple of games of the season.
Let me ask you something, just to switch gears for a moment on you. Speaking of rebuilding, the Bostoners have to rebuild because they made some bad choices. And
You mean the Bruins?
no, I'm talking about the Boston Red Sox.
Oh,
The Boston
yes.
Red Sox had made some bad choices. The New York Yankees, what are the chances of them going all the way, Jamie? Because this is supposed
They're
to be the
good,
game.
but I worry about the starting pitching. So far, this series against Minnesota, their bullpen has really saved them.
Right.
Specifically in Game 1. Mm-hmm. Game 1, their bullpen really saved them. Plus, they were able to break out for 10 runs, which really was the difference. Game 2, Masahiro Tanaka showed that he can be a big game pitcher after all. He got 5 really solid innings in. And, of course, it helped that the Yankees were able to get 18 runs in the first couple of games. Didi Gregorius getting himself a grand slam.
Now, mind you, the Twins are the most home runs, and then the Yankees come second.
I expected a hell of a lot more out of this series. I thought that this could be maybe a 5-game series. Now the Yankees have a chance to wrap it up tonight.
What do you think the chances of that happening?
And I think their chances are pretty good. I mean, aside from the fact that they're in Minneapolis for Game 3, which is a huge thing for the Twins and their fans. The Twins' bullpen, while we talked about the Yankees' bullpen saving their starting staff, the Twins' bullpen has been lit up like a Christmas tree and have done nothing to support their starting staff right now. And looking at what's going on tonight, we see that Luis Severino is going to be starting for the Yankees. Fortunately, he's 100% now. It's just a matter of how much of a leash
and who you getting
is he going to be getting.
And which Severino are you getting?
Yeah, which Luis Severino are we going to be getting? Are we going to get the Luis Severino who's been dominant in the regular season, or the one that has been a mystery in the postseason?
Well, I tell you, if they give him a short leash, at least they got somebody in the bullpen, some of the starters, because the next day
2 words, Chad Green.
So that's going to be something.
And for the record, Jake Odorizzi is going to be the starting pitcher for the Twins in Game 3.
So you think it'll be a sweep?
I think the Yankees turn it. I think the Yankees wrap it up tonight. Yeah.
How about Houston?
Well, Houston just lost Game 3 to Tampa.
So it's
earlier this afternoon. So now it's a 2-1 lead. Game 4 is tomorrow.
Wow.
And then you have the National League Division Series. The Cardinals just won in extra innings against the Braves. So now that series is tied.
Right.
As for Dodgers Nationals, the Dodgers, the last I checked, had a 1-0 lead in the early innings. Now it's tied at 1 in the bottom of the third, and the Nationals are threatening 2-on with 2 out.
So let me ask you, were you expecting all this to happen, that the teams that you expected to be there are there? Or were there any wild card teams that you didn't think that were going to be there, but they're there now?
I certainly did not expect the Washington Nationals to get this far, because the Nationals are a paltry playoff team. But the way they came from behind, winning that wild card game against Milwaukee, really opened a lot of eyes. Tampa surprised a little bit too, because for one, they took care of an Oakland team that's pretty powerful.
Right.
Took care of them in their own stadium. Unfortunately, after getting shut out for the last couple of games by the Astros, naturally the Rays were going to have to mount some kind of an offense, and they did that and then some. 10-3 today. So now the Astros have a chance to wrap it up tomorrow, or the Rays have a chance to tie the series tomorrow and send it back to Houston for Game 5.
So far, let's say the Yankees win. And
if the Yankees win tonight, then they're going to have quite a bit of rest that they're going to be needing coming up.
Who's next, Houston?
It's going to be either Houston or Tampa. And I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna say this to you right now. Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, Zach Greinke. That is a deadly trio for the Yankees to go up against.
Right.
The Yankees cannot beat the Astros in a playoff series.
Never know.
Justin Verlander dominates them. And Garrett Cole has his days where he can be very, very dominant. He was dominant in Game 2 against the Rays. Zach Greinke is a veteran pitcher who's had a very, very good career. He's won over 200 games for his career. Who is to say that Zach Greinke is just going to get on the mound and cowl if he sees the Yankees' batting order.
I'll put it to you like this. On paper, it looks great, but when it comes to the actual playing, it's a whole different ballgame because some people can get hot. You've seen it, that teams get hot at the right time and they become superstars out of nowhere.
I also remember what happened 2 years ago when Justin Verlander practically dominated them.
Exactly. So you never know what can happen, but on paper, it seems like the Astros could beat the Yankees.
On paper?
Yeah, on paper.
Not only on paper, but on the field.
And so on.
If you were to look at a potential Astros versus Yankees American League Championship Series, the Astros win it, I think, in 5 or 6 games.
So you're saying that the Astros, now who in the National League?
Who in the National League? What do you mean exactly, though?
Who wins? Who wins out of the teams that are playing now? You said the Atlanta Braves. Do they beat?
Can they beat the Cardinals? Yes, they've already done it twice. Will they beat the Cardinals? I just don't see it happening.
So you're saying
the Braves have been a playoff flop in the new millennium. They've won only one playoff series in the new millennium since 2000.
Are you predicting that the Cardinals are going to play the Dodgers?
I think that not only do the Dodgers win today against the Nationals, I think the Dodgers play the Cardinals for the National League Championship Series. But I think after guys like Chris Carpenter or Adam Wainwright, I don't think the Cardinals really have a supporting cast to try and back up those two.
So
my guess is you put in Clayton Kershaw, Hyunjin Ryu, the youngster Walker Buehler. That's a really dangerous trio you have to go up against.
So you're saying that it's Houston? I mean, not Houston. Yeah, Houston.
I think it's Houston versus the Dodgers.
Who wins
in another World Series? And this time, I think the tides might turn because not only does each team have the trio to try and match up with each other, I think the Dodgers made a few reinforcements in their batting order that they could probably this time win a World Series against the Astros. So my pick would be the Dodgers, and I think the Dodgers win it in 6 games.
And also, now that they're the teams out there that are on the rebuilding stage, and how many managers have been fired so far?
Well, Mickey Callaway has been one.
Oh, well, that did you really expect that?
Yes.
Was that just one of
I
those?
saw that thing coming a mile away. And quite frankly, it's about time because I really don't think that the Mets could be any more than just the 85-win team or the 86-win team that they were this season.
So
you put in another manager, an experienced manager,
right.
That changes.
So let me ask you. Let's say they get this experienced manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say they keep the starting 4, which I don't think that's going to happen. But let's say they do. And right now, who on the team is going to be hitting for you and defensively for you? Do they have a team that they could actually do something?
They definitely have the hitters. I mean, think about it. Peter Alonso at first, Robinson Cano, if he's 100% healthy, playing second. Mm-hmm. Ahmed Rosario playing short. I would like to see them put Jeff McNeil back at third, although I've heard they might bring back Todd Frazier, which I think would be a mistake because Todd Frazier's run production has gone way, way down. Okay. He's not the same player that he was 10 years ago.
Okay. Now you have the outfield, too.
Mm-hmm. The outfield, Michael Conforto, maybe... If they don't use J.D. Davis in that area, maybe Jeff McNeil could be the center fielder, or he could split time in center field between Juan Lagares and himself, or maybe they could have J.D. Davis be the everyday third baseman because he was a revelation this year. And as far as right field, I'm hearing maybe they could.
Cespedes is coming back.
I wouldn't rule that out. I mean, he's had
The
practically 2 years to recover from his injuries. And also there's the matter of...
Or do you think the Mets are trying to keep him away so that they can get the insurance money?
Wouldn't surprise me if they were doing that. By the way, I wonder how much Cespedes has left in his contract, though.
Probably, I think, one more year left.
Which would make him in his walk year.
Yeah. So...
And as far as the right fielder, I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe Cespedes makes a miraculous recovery in the next 3 or 4 months and takes right field back.
Do you think that...
Or maybe he takes left field and they move Michael Conforto to right field.
Now, here's the thing that I'm looking at is the Mets bench and the bullpen.
The bullpen has to be completely reconstructed. Sorry, but I don't know why they decided to insist on pushing Jordi Familia and Edwin Diaz in the same bullpen together, but they were just woeful.
Weren't they good at one point, though?
Edwin Diaz had about 60 saves with Seattle last year.
Right.
Yet he makes his way to Queens to pitch for the Mets and be their closer. He gets no more than 25 or 26 saves. I mean, he dropped off really badly.
There are some players that can't play in cities sometimes. I mean, look. Well, the Mets have a decent catcher too,
Wilson Ramos.
but he can hit, but he can't throw. He can't pick up He can't pick nobody.
He cannot pick off. Well, picking off base runners is one thing.
Yeah.
Catching them stealing is another. And Wilson Ramos had major problems throwing out base runners.
And their bench is not all that great.
The bench was really thin last year. I mean, you had guys like Dominic Smith and...
not unlike the Yankees, who came up with miracles.
Or guys that were practically rejects.
Exactly.
Not just miracles, rejects.
This is what I'm saying. Is the Yankees built to win because of all the things that they've had to go through? And can Aaron Boone be manager of the year, or he won't because it's the New York Yankees?
He can be, because what he did with this team and with that roster.
Who was the last Yankee manager to win the manager of the year?
I think it was Joe Torre.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And for the record, do you know that the Yankees had 2,000 manpower games lost to injury this season alone? I think it was either 2,000 or 200 that they wound up losing to manpower games. Yet somehow they were able to win 103 games and an Eastern Division title. That has to count for something. And consider this. Aaron Boone went from playing the game to broadcasting the game. He's never been a coach or a manager at any level before.
Yeah.
Yet somehow he comes right in. He not only does he win over the locker room, all the players really like him and respect him really, really well. He also seems to come up with one batting order after another that can try and produce on any given day.
Yeah, but look at the team that he has. I mean, Jesus. I mean, if you compare the Yankees to the Mets when it comes to spreading the wealth, I mean, it's not like before with Steinbrenner.
I think it's pretty obvious.
But it's like apples and oranges. Now, question on that. Apples and oranges. You ready?
Yeah.
How do you compare now the Nets and the Knicks? Because the Knicks seem to be the apples and the Nets seem to be the oranges, and the oranges are winning right now because of everybody being so damn talented there.
Well, I'd like to borrow a line that the now late wrestling manager Bobby Heenan used when he was comparing championship belts over 30 years ago. Comparing the Nets to the Knicks is like comparing ice cream to horse manure. The Nets are built to win immediately.
They're built to win now. They're not built to win tomorrow.
They're built to win now. Who ever saw any Nets fan, except for maybe the Jason Kidd years,
Right.
that this would happen. That the Nets would actually not only put together a competitive team, but a fun team to watch that has NBA title aspirations. Then you
know
look
what's
at
so sad? I'm sorry. You know what's so sad about the Nets though? They don't hang enough T-shirts, and they've had some great players.
You mean they don't retire enough jerseys?
Yeah, like Albert.
Let's see. Julius Erving, Super John Williamson.
Albert King.
Did Albert King ever get his number retired?
Albert and Bernard used to play for that team at one point, and then
Albert had the longer shelf life with the Nets, though.
Yes, he did.
Bernard only played with the Nets a total of 2.5 years.
Okay,
3.5 years.
But Albert King was lit up.
Albert King was a really, really good scorer back in the day.
But now they rebuild the proper way, even though they got sunk by that horrendous. You know what that deal reminded me?
Oh, that trade killed him for 6 years.
That deal reminded me of the Emmitt Smith deal.
The Emmitt Smith deal or the Herschel Walker deal?
The Herschel Walker deal. I'm sorry, the Herschel Walker deal.
That deal saved the Cowboys and turned the Vikings into just another NFL team. That deal made the Cowboys Super Bowl champions three times in 4 years.
Because the Nets were built to win that year because they had such a great game at that point. But now you see them and you're going, are they for real? Are they? Because they really do got some really nice, young, talented players. Forget Kyrie Irving and KD for a second. If you get them out of the equation, they still have some really good players.
Joe Harris, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, who is my favorite player on that team. This kid is a hustler.
Lance Thomas.
They wound up giving Lance Thomas a deal. It's probably kicking the tires on the kid. But
he's a good defensive ball player. You got to give him that.
But he has zero offensive skills anymore.
Again,
his offensive game has gone way down.
Sometimes when you need a defensive stopper, you go on, and that's the way it's played sometimes. But the Nets, did it slowly but surely. Slowly but surely they started. The Knicks seem to be going in somewhat that direction where they're trying to pick the Knicks. You don't see it because here's the way I look at it. They are doing it by going through the draft. Now, who they pick, that's a whole different ballgame. But they are trying to go through the draft because, like we both said, who really wants to play for the Knicks?
No one.
No one at this point in time.
No superstar wants to play for that sorry-ass franchise.
So they have to do it through the draft, just like the Giants, just like the Jets, just like so on. So if they have to do it through the draft, you pray that they get those players that the way the Nets build and the way Indianapolis build and some of those other teams that have come and built from scratch and started because they're the third youngest team.
The drafts that they've had, and I think to myself, the Knicks could have had Donovan Mitchell instead of Frank Ntilikina.
Now remember, Frank Ntilikina was a Phil Jackson person, and they got rid of him. I mean, he played triangle.
The Knicks could have had Justice Winslow, a great athlete. But who do they pick? Kristaps Porzingis, who lasted 3 years.
We got to go.
Mangled his knee and is now a Maverick.
So we got to go.
Yeah, we do have to go. So thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the
glass.
Graham man. And thanks to this guy for making his way into the studio after forever.
Yes.
For everyone here, I'm Jaime.
I'm Hector.
We hope you have a wonderful Columbus Day.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
In 1492, 1491, we got to party like 1491, baby.